Hello and welcome to a episode of the Euro blog for November 2022. Small disclaimer, this video may well contain triggers as we do talk about suicide, anxiety, depression, as well as things like substance abuse and a range of mental health difficulties that people face every day. So please, if you do go into this, do just be aware and make sure you look after yourself before and after, especially if that means talking to someone else and getting their support. Now, onto the vlog. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of You're Right, the vlog for men's health for November 2022. I am lucky today to be joined by a representative from the Movember Foundation themselves, who's going to talk to us today about what the Movember Foundation actually do. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass straight on over, really. So over to you.
Hi, I'm Pos. I work at Movember and have done for almost a year now. I've been supporting Movember for about 4 years. And I was an ambassador prior to working here, and I absolutely live and breathe pretty much all things mustaches. And yeah, I'm really happy to just join in on the podcast today and talk about Movember, what our main messaging is, our mission, things like that, and yeah, just give people more of an insight as to what we do. So Movember started in 2003, which is almost 20 years ago. And it's just with a couple of friends in Australia who basically just went, all our dads we've all been connected by prostate cancer. We should do something to fundraise, and came up with growing a mustache because the mustache used to be really cool pre the noughties. And then it sort of became not very cool at all, and it became a bit embarrassing, so they decided to grow a mustache for all of November, call it Movember, and it sort of just snowballed on from there. And yeah, and so it originally started just looking at prostate cancer and raising awareness of prostate cancer and fundraising for research, and then they added in testicular cancer, and then a few years ago brought in mental health and suicide prevention. So it's prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health and suicide prevention. For me personally, I'm a 21-year-old bloke. I'm probably most connected to the mental health side of things. I've suffered my own mental health issues. I've had friends take their own life, and sort of I love everything that Movember stands for in that. We basically, Movember fund like groundbreaking medical research, innovative cancer tests and treatments, and then game-changing actual mental health interventions. In total, we funded over 1,250 projects worldwide, and that's only going up. Literally a few weeks ago, we had our board come in and work out the new projects we're going to start funding, which is really exciting. Some of the best ones, there's one called Ahead of the Game, which is all set up, which is sort of done with Rugby League Cares, where it looks at, there's some ex-professional rugby players who talk about mental health in sports. And they basically go around into massive rugby clubs or schools to 14 to 18-year-olds or 12 to 18-year-olds and talk about mental health and why. And these are massive 6-foot huge rugby guys going, yeah, I was really depressed throughout a lot of my career and couldn't speak out to anyone. And all they're looking to do now is to try and get that message into people from a really young age. They came into the office the other day and did the actual workshop for us. And it was actually really fun, and it was so engaging, and they talked about, and it showed how you can easily open up to a teammate, and it was just brilliant. And so many people, so many rugby clubs are doing it. They've just started with Fulham Football Club, so we're spreading sports, and it's just going absolutely everywhere. So that's probably my favorite mental health one. We then have Nuts and Bolts, which is like a peer support testicular cancer, I don't say for society, a group of people. So you basically go in, if you have testicular cancer yourself, you've been diagnosed, you can go onto the Nuts and Bolts website, and you'll get put in touch with one of their ambassadors. Most of them have had testicular cancer and obviously survived and are okay now and feel well enough to then give advice to future testicular cancer patients. And you can just talk to them about absolutely anything, and they're one-on-one, they're there for a call, you can meet up with them, have a coffee, and it's just that sort of connection, which you're not going to get anywhere really. You're not going to be able to find that on Facebook, but you'll be able to get it off Nuts and Bolts. And that's another project we actually really love as well. So that's project side. How people get involved. So obviously, most of it is we creative autonomy over to the fundraisers. whether it is a podcast, a fun run, anything, like absolutely anything. But the classic one, what we're mainly known for, is growing a mo throughout Movember. Get your handlebars, get your walrus, get your trucker mustache, do absolutely anything, and that's it. And just start a conversation. We have a lot of people who struggle with facial hair, but we still say the worst mustaches start the best conversations, which is very true. I grow some horrible facial hair every year, and every year there's at least one person who goes, "What on earth are you doing with yourself tonight?" So that's always fun. We then have Move for Movember, which we brought in to sort of promote just getting outside and doing things either with a friend or not, and that's just committing to running or walking, cycling, swimming 60 kilometers in Movember, and that's for the 60 men we lose to suicide each hour across the world, which is quite a harrowing stat when you really think about it. So we do a lot of our challenges center around some key stats, which we'll go into a bit later. But yeah, the Move for Movember challenge is just one you can log on the website when you fundraise, and people can see how much you're doing. Some people wait till, I know we had one guy who was at Oxford Uni, and he waited until the very last day, got back in from a night out, and then at 7 a.m. ran all 60k in one day. And he was just like, yeah, let's see what happens. And we get fundraisers like that, and it's incredible to see. And you meet them. We host in-person events. Obviously with COVID, we've not had many, so it's starting to get them all back again. And we've had like new fundraisers in the last 2-3 years who've done mental challenges. And now we get to meet them in person, but they're just like normal, there's absolutely like straight up people. And then they're like, oh yeah, I did run 60k just one morning, because I was like, why not? And it's just like unbelievable. And they raise so much money, they raise so much awareness, and they talk about everything, and they're so brilliant. So absolutely love what the Move for Movember can do. We then have Host a Moment. I know you're hosting a moment in this campaign, which is brilliant. That's just rallying your crew, having fun in the name of men's health. It can be as Movember centered as you want, really. It's mainly just about getting people together. Obviously, last 3 years struggled, but now we're back in again, and events are starting up, and it's very exciting. We get absolutely all sorts. There's a lot of shave downs that happen. So on the 31st or the 1st of November, people will either shave off their mustache after growing it all month, or they'll shave off their beard to start growing it, which is always good. You get barbers come in and have a whole thing, before and after photos. We've got a guy in the office who will grow his beard the whole of the year, and then will completely clean shave on the 1st. And it's so weird because his beard goes down to here, and then it just all goes, and it's hilarious. He's been in like almost 10 years now, and there's so many before and after photos. And then the last fundraising one we've had supported people. The last thing we do for supporters to get involved is Mow Your Own Way, which is just choose your own adventure, whether that's something like the 3 Peaks Challenge, or we had someone attempt the 24 hours Mackey's Challenge, where you sit in a McDonald's for 24 hours and every full meal you eat takes off an hour you have to be there for, and stuff like that. The creativity is actually endless. It's so entertaining, and you can find there's so much about this on Movember.com, which says some of our best challenges, some of our weirdest challenges, and it's just absolutely all sorts. So it's really exciting every year. Every year there's something new. Like guaranteed, someone will just email in and be like, "Oh, I'm doing this," and you're like, "What is it?" Okay, brilliant, outstanding. And then you also get people a lot of like high profile people do Movember without talking to us, like all the rugby players. We don't talk to everyone individually, ask them to do Movember every year, but you'll watch the autumn internationals and loads of the England team will have a moustache, and even stuff like that just gets the conversation starting. And you have like the commentators will be like, look at that moustache, that looks ridiculous, I bet that's for Movember. Ian Sterling on Love Island on Friday night mentioned Movember. It's just everywhere, it's absolutely everywhere. It should be in the dictionary. That should be our next thing to try and get into. But yeah, it's like that's one of my favorite things about it as well. I say, oh yeah, I work for a charity. Which one? Oh, it's Movember. Oh, that's really cool, because everyone knows it, which is love it. We can go into some harrowing stats now, which aren't as fun, but they're the important things. That's why we do it. So in life expectancy in general in men is about 3.5 years younger than women, that's just in the UK. Globally, it's about 5 years. And that straight away, just we're there, we're doing it for men's health. Suicides from the mental health side, 3 out of 4 suicides are men, which has remained the same since the 90s. That's not changed, which again, I know these stats are up to date as of the start of 2022, just in case I say something that's changed recently. And suicide is the leading cause of death among men aged 20 to 34, which is horrid, to be honest. That's, 3,686 men died by suicide during 2020, which is more than 10 a day. And that's just a massive thing. And that's my main connection to it. I have friends at uni take their own life, not fun, and very much makes you realise there's not a lot of support out there, and it's quite hard to find it if you're in that situation where you're contemplating taking your own life. Testicular cancer and prostate cancer. Testicular cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer for men aged 17 to 34, which is, so a lot of people don't realise that they're like not exposed, what's the word I'm looking for, just like that they can get cancer that young. And like telling a 17-year-old at risk of getting testicular cancer is quite a worry. And then obviously it comes in, the whole mental health side comes in as well, whether you're going to be comfortable speaking out to a friend, like, I've got a lump on my ball, what do I do? And that's a really tough conversation to have. And if you're not comfortable reaching out to your friends, which a lot of men aren't, I've got a mate who didn't go to the GP for 3 years, wasn't registered his whole year at uni, didn't have his whole 3 years at uni. And that wasn't even that rare. Sometimes I say that to people to be like, how shocking is that? And they're like, oh, I don't have a GP actually. And it's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And it's very common in men. And so who would they go and speak to if they find a lump on their ball or something like that? So whilst we do a lot of research for testicular cancer and prostate cancer, there's some of the projects we fund are all about just getting men to be more open with each other and talking about health issues, not just mental health issues. So the testicular cancer side of it's really, really important because it's the most common cancer. And also the difference in survival rate is massive the earlier on you catch it. If you find a lump, chances are you can get an orchidectomy in like 6 months and it's gone. And that's you hopefully sorted. Whereas if you leave it for a year because you're too embarrassed to speak about it, that's when the problems really start and the cancer starts to spread. So that's why it's also incredibly important. And then prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in men in the UK. So that's just across all, taking into account all age ranges. 1 in 8 men will receive prostate cancer diagnosis. It's very much over 40s. It is over 40s. And so that's why it's really important for the other side of our fundraisers and our target audience is for those over 40 men, which a lot of those fundraisers who fall into that category will have had a prostate cancer diagnosis, will have come through it because the research that's gone into it is unbelievable. The treatment's brilliant, and similar to testicular cancer, the survival rate's decent. I don't actually have a stat for it, but I just noticed that. And again, caught earlier on, and that's all about getting your prostate checked, which again can be a continuous problem. We talk about young men not wanting to speak about their health, but it also goes all the way into over 50s who just won't speak about their health, won't get their prostate checked, and then won't know. So there's things like that, which is also just incredibly important. We funded similar to Nuts and Bolts for testicular cancer. We have True North for prostate cancer, which is just another brilliant cancer project, which just looks out for people who've received a diagnosis, which is just so important. I think that's about it in terms of, without going into even more heavy stats. Do you have any questions?
No, not really. That's been very unbelievably insightful. I actually have one, which is if there was people that were watching this now, because when people are watching this in the future or the present for the people watching this, it is slap bang in the middle of the month. This is the 16th of November. How could those people this year and potentially next year support the Movember charity? What could they then go and do?
Well, firstly, it's never too late to start growing if you're inspired for a late surge. And just one of the best things you can do is just talk to a friend and just reach out to someone you've not spoken to in a while is always my favorite, and someone you think, oh, I wonder what they're doing now. Because sometimes it's quite, and also obviously your closest friends as well, just to make sure they're okay. And then supporting other people who are doing Movember. If it's too late to sort of get yourself an event sorted or get yourself moving again, you're not going to move your 60 kilometers or anything, you can always just reach out to a creator like yourself or hopefully you'll know someone who's doing Movember. That's the dream. And you'll be able to support them. And then next year, just get inspired. Just follow us on the socials, and we share all sorts. And just see what's going on, see what's right up your street. If you're a sportsman and you want to get involved and you want to get the rest of your team involved, that's a great way to do it. And there's loads of examples of how we can do that. Or if you're doing it by yourself, and you can just reach out to your family and see what can happen there. And there's just so much, I direct it straight to Movember.com, because that's where I'm sure you'll have loads of links, which I'll send you anyway. And that will be perfect for that, because there's areas for inspiration.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today about the Movember Foundation. It's honestly, like I said just before we started, it's definitely different hearing it coming from the charity itself about the work they're doing than it is from anyone else. Because you can read stats on a website, but hearing that, it's a bit more eye-opening about the work that's actually done. To anyone that is watching this, if you do want to get involved, go visit the Movember Foundation website, movember.com.
Yeah, that's the one.
Or reach out in the comments, or message me if you know me, or pop into a stream or anything, and I'm more than happy to talk about it. Thank you very much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
And the rest of you, there'll be another one of these tomorrow morning. So I will see you then. Have a very good day. And yeah, look after yourself. Goodbye, guys. Thank you for watching that Euro blog. It's been a phenomenal journey that we've been on to get this far. And we're hoping that it will long outlive the vlog series. But it's not over there. There is more to be done, and there is a donation link to the Movember charity inside the description. If you can donate, please do consider it, or even if you can just spread that link far and wide to get as many people to donate as possible, that's also fantastic. We are actively making a change, and you're part of that. So thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.